My name's Devin Kelly, Mr. Kelly. I'm here to talk to you about learning. On June 30th, 2023, at the age of 32 years old, I tried to learn for the first time how to ride a bike. I didn't know how. You see, for most of my life, I've been a runner. When I was growing up, my dad used to give me a fistful of dollars and tell me to run to the grocery store to pick up what we needed. I'd run there and run back. By the time I got to college, I was good enough at running that I ran competitively at Fordham University. I ran almost every day of my life until something unexpected happened. A couple years ago, I was diagnosed with an osteochondral lesion. I was missing a chunk of cartilage in my knee. I had to get a transplant. I couldn't run for half a year. I couldn't walk for 2 months. Here I am, learning for the first time how to walk again. And so I thought it'd be a good idea to learn how to ride a bike. I thought it'd be an even better idea to do it in Central Park in the middle of summer. I thought it'd be great if my good friend Hal was there, who's an avid cyclist, to teach me. But we weren't alone. We were surrounded by the thousands of tourists that come to Central Park each summer. There was even a mother, a father, and their baby. It was hot. It was really hot. I was sweating out of places I didn't know I had. I was sweating out my ass. I took off my shirt. I was covered in mud, dirt. I was embarrassed, ashamed, sweaty. I felt tired, and I wish I could tell you I learned how to ride a bike that day, but the truth is I didn't. I fell 100 times. I fell in front of a crowd of children who laughed at me. I fell in front of that one baby I mentioned. I fell in front of 2 grandparents. I fell and I kept falling. Look, this isn't a story about overcoming obstacles or how trying equals success or how you have to fall a bunch of times in order to walk. I find these cliches to be reductive, shitty, kind of harmful. No, this is a story about how learning is really hard. About how sometimes we forget that. And how when we forget that, we lose our capacity for compassion and grace. When I was falling, I thought of some people. I thought first of my mom, who, when she was around the age I am now, had been in and out of rehab 3 times. Didn't work. She eventually left my family and had to learn how to get better on her own. 20 years later, she's been sober for 10 years. She lives in a house by the ocean. She bakes bread. She danced with me on my wedding day. I thought too of my dad, who before any of this happened, I don't think thought that he would have to learn how to raise 2 kids on his own. But he had to. He learned, and he did it. And I thought of my grandma, who, when she was about 3 times older than I am now, I sat across 1 week before she died. We were sitting at the kitchen table, and she was holding a spoonful of peas in her hand, and her hand was trembling, and she was scared, and she was alone, and she was learning in that moment how to die. Which is a sad fact that doesn't escape any of us. I thought of this poem by Franz Wright where he says, "How does one go about dying? Who on earth is gonna teach me? The world is filled with people who have never died." And I thought finally of me, teaching. But really I thought of my students. I thought of all the times I've raised my voice or yelled or grown frustrated and angry when they've learned slower than I've wanted, or learned at a different pace, or learned in a way I didn't try to understand. You see, we are each learning how to ride our own bikes every day. Sometimes that bike is a literal bike in a field in Central Park, and sometimes that bike is getting sober, and sometimes that bike is whatever it is for the kid in the classroom, hunched over a book, sounding out vowels, trying to read, and sometimes that bike is figuring out how to forgive, like I learned how to do with my mom. I eventually learned how to ride a bike, here I am, having the absolute time of my life a week later in Central Park. But that's not the point of this story. No. The point is that learning is an act of forgetting. You see, when you're on that bike, having the time of your life in Central Park, flying through, feeling the breeze on your face, you have forgotten the rage, anger, shame, embarrassment, and loneliness of trying to learn. And this forgetting is a beautiful thing. It allows you to experience joy. It allows you to try new things. It allows so much. But today, I am asking you to remember. Because we forget how hard the easy things once were. And we forget how vulnerable learning is. Getting older means encountering more of what we don't know than what we do. Like my mom, who didn't know she would have to spend her whole life trying to get sober and staying sober. Like my dad, who didn't know that he would have to learn how to raise 2 kids on his own. Like me in Central Park riding a bike. And like you, right here, right now, you, each of you, who are probably struggling, coping, anxious, dealing with something unexpected that you never thought you would have to deal with. You're learning. And I'm sorry. It's hard. It's really, really hard. But once you have learned something, I am asking you not to forget what it was like to learn. Because to push against the forgetting that learning makes of life is to remember that it is learning that defines our life. Because we are, at all times, learning how to live. And so, remember. Remember how hard it was, how you longed for grace, that you needed help, and that you'll need help again. Thank you.